There is a quiet frustration that lives in the back of the mind of almost every man who has ever stood in a supplement aisle, pulled out his wallet, and committed to yet another product that promised to change things. The bottles pile up. The monthly orders keep coming. The routines get built around capsules and powders and carefully timed doses. And somewhere in the middle of all of it, a man starts to wonder whether any of it is actually doing what the label claims, or whether he is simply paying a premium to feel like he is doing something about a problem he has never been given a straight answer on. The answer, as it turns out, has been sitting in the produce section the entire time. Not behind a pharmacy counter, not locked inside an expensive subscription box, not buried in a proprietary blend with ingredients too obscure to pronounce. 5 berries, common ones, the kind that have been available in every grocery store in every neighborhood for as long as most men can remember, have been studied in peer-reviewed clinical research and confirmed to deliver measurable, meaningful improvements to sperm count and motility through biological mechanisms that no synthetic supplement has managed to replicate more effectively. The cost of these 5 berries combined is a fraction of what most men spend on a single bottle of the supplements they are currently taking, and that gap between what men are paying and what they actually need is not an accident. It is simply the result of never having been told where to look. That changes right now. Begin with blueberries, because the science behind them is both precise and deeply relevant to the specific challenges male reproductive health faces in the modern environment. Blueberries contain 2 compounds that have attracted serious scientific attention in the context of sperm biology, quercetin and resveratrol, and their presence in a single, affordable, widely available fruit is more significant than most men have ever been led to understand. A study published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry examined the effects of both compounds on sperm function and confirmed that quercetin and resveratrol work together to directly improve sperm motility, meaning the vigor and directional capability with which sperm cells move, while simultaneously forming a protective barrier around sperm DNA against oxidative damage. Oxidative damage is one of the most pervasive and underappreciated threats to male fertility, operating invisibly at a cellular level and degrading the genetic integrity of sperm long before any outward symptoms appear, which is precisely why a fruit capable of neutralizing that threat from the inside carries implications far beyond what its modest appearance suggests. Strawberries arrive next, and this is where the research produces a number so striking that it has a way of stopping men completely in their tracks when they first encounter it. Strawberries are among the most vitamin C-dense fruits that exist in nature, and vitamin C is not simply a cold season nutrient or a general wellness supplement in the context of male reproductive biology. It is a targeted, clinically validated tool for sperm health. Research published in the journal Fertility and Sterility followed male participants who received vitamin C supplementation over a 2-month period and recorded an average increase in sperm count of 140% alongside a significant measurable reduction in DNA fragmentation within the sperm cells themselves. 140% is not a marginal improvement. It is a transformation, and the fact that the primary vehicle for achieving it can be purchased fresh, frozen, or dried at any grocery store for a handful of dollars reframes every conversation about what male fertility support actually needs to look like. Raspberries operate through a mechanism centered on a compound called ellagic acid, a polyphenolic antioxidant that has been the subject of growing clinical interest for its specific effects on reproductive tissue. Ellagic acid has been shown in clinical research to reduce inflammation within the reproductive system at a tissue level, and this matters enormously because chronic low-grade inflammation in and around the reproductive organs is an increasingly recognized contributor to declining sperm quality, particularly in relation to sperm morphology, which refers to the structural integrity and shape of individual sperm cells. A sperm cell with compromised morphology is less capable of penetrating and fertilizing an egg regardless of how numerous or motile the broader sperm population is, making the anti-inflammatory and morphology-supporting action of ellagic acid a genuinely meaningful contribution to the overall picture of male reproductive function. Blackberries bring their own distinct biological contribution through one of the most well-researched categories of plant compounds currently being studied in nutritional science. They are extraordinarily rich in anthocyanins, the pigments responsible for their deep, almost luminous color, and anthocyanins have been studied extensively for their antioxidant potency and their capacity to protect cells from oxidative stress. A study published in the European Journal of Nutrition examined the relationship between anthocyanin intake and sperm cell health and found a significant reduction in oxidative stress markers within sperm cells among participants with higher anthocyanin consumption. Since oxidative stress is one of the primary mechanisms through which environmental toxins, poor diet, and lifestyle factors degrade sperm quality over time, the ability of blackberries to counteract that process at a cellular level makes them a far more powerful dietary ally than their familiar, ordinary appearance would ever suggest. The fifth berry is maca, and it is the one that tends to generate the most surprise because it occupies a category that most men have either never explored or have encountered only in the context of vague wellness marketing without ever understanding the actual science behind it. Maca berries contain a class of bioactive compounds known as unique alkaloids, and these alkaloids do not act on reproductive health indirectly or peripherally. They engage the hypothalamic pituitary axis, the central hormonal command system of the human body that regulates the signals governing testosterone production, sperm development, and sexual function from the top of the endocrine hierarchy downward. A comprehensive review published in the journal Andrologia examined the clinical evidence surrounding maca and confirmed that its alkaloid compounds produce measurable improvements in sperm production and sexual function through this direct hormonal pathway, meaning that maca is not simply feeding the reproductive system with nutrients, but actively communicating with the system that governs reproductive output at its most foundational level. There is something that needs to be said clearly and without qualification before this conversation moves any further, because it is the thing that most men in this space never actually hear, and it is the thing that changes the entire emotional texture of everything that follows. Your body is not broken. It is not betraying you. It is not failing you, and it is not working against you. What it is doing, quietly and persistently, is waiting for the specific biological inputs it was designed to receive, the compounds, the nutrients, the antioxidants, and the hormonal cofactors that human male physiology evolved over thousands of years to expect and to respond to with remarkable efficiency. The challenge is not that your body has forgotten how to function. The challenge is that the modern food environment has drifted so far from what that biology actually requires that most men are running an incredibly sophisticated system on fuel it was never built to run on, and interpreting the resulting performance gaps as personal failure rather than nutritional absence. That distinction matters more than it might initially seem, because a man who believes his body is failing him looks for ways to compensate, while a man who understands his body is simply under-resourced looks for ways to supply what is missing. One of those orientations leads to expensive supplements and frustration. The other leads to a handful of berries and measurable results. These 5 fruits are not a workaround designed to trick your biology into producing something it would not otherwise be capable of. They are the raw material that male reproductive biology has always been primed to convert into exactly the outcomes you are looking for, and incorporating them into your daily routine requires less money, less effort, and less disruption to your existing life than anything else you have ever tried in pursuit of the same result. If you are ready to actually start this week rather than filing this away as something you will get to eventually, drop a berry emoji in the comments right now. That single small action is a commitment made out loud, and there is genuine behavioral science behind why public declarations of intent, even in a comment section, measurably increase the likelihood of follow-through. It signals to your own mind that this is not passive consumption but active decision-making. And that shift in orientation is often the difference between information that changes something and information that simply passes through. Save this video before you close it, specifically because the next time you find yourself standing in a grocery store trying to remember what was on this list, you will want it immediately accessible rather than somewhere in the vague memory of something you watched a few days ago and meant to look up again. The save takes 1 second and turns this content from a moment of inspiration into a practical shopping reference that actually travels with you into the real world where these decisions get made. Subscribing right now is about what comes next, and what comes next is genuinely urgent in a way that will make sense the moment you hear it. The following video covers the 5 breakfast foods that are actively working against sperm quality. And the reason that matters is because breakfast is not a future meal you can prepare for. It is something most men watching this have already eaten today, which means the damage being described may already be in motion without a single warning sign to alert you. As always, before introducing meaningful changes to your diet, particularly in the context of reproductive or hormonal health, please speak with a qualified healthcare provider or registered dietitian to ensure that what you are doing aligns safely and effectively with your individual health circumstances.